Hey, what's up, y'all? So, I remember I made a video a while back um, about how I was going to stop talking about racism in politics, which I still am. I'm still going to keep my channel gospel Christian centered. But, however, I do want to talk about this situation that took place in Cincinnati about um, maybe I think it was about a month or two ago. Um, and the reason why I'm talking about this because I remember I made a video during that time about that situation, about how I felt about that white couple getting beat down by those three black people. I think it might have been three or four black people. And I noticed that, and I'm usually not the type of person that like get caught up in, um, stuff that goes on the news, and that includes Fox News, CNN. But I've noticed that they didn't tell the whole story. They didn't tell the whole story. All right. Um, and before anybody start getting offended, I'm not pro black. I'm not pro white. I'm not on nobody's side. But one thing about me is I'm going to speak the facts for what it is. Okay. And they didn't tell the whole story about that situation. They only just showed the part about the white man getting beat by those three black people, and they tried to portray it as three degenerates beating up on a white couple. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I still believe that that white lady should never got punched in her face unconscious. Okay, I still felt like that was wrong. Okay, but however, what they didn't tell us is that who threw the first hit. Okay, and that white guy actually slapped the black guy in his face, and that's what started the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, so you know, I'm sorry. You throw the first hit on somebody, then guess what? Then I'm sorry. You put your hands on somebody, somebody gonna put their hands on your back. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really the type of person to advocate for violence, at least not like I used to. Okay, but at the same time, I didn't know. You know, I was just me when I saw that situation. You know, all I saw was three black people beating up on a white guy. You know what I'm saying? And I spoke out about that, and I said that was completely wrong and despicable. But I didn't know that the white guy had put his hands on the black dude first by slapping him in the face. So I'm sorry. You put your hands on somebody, somebody's going to put their hands on your back. Now, I understand. Now, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, it should have been a one on one fight instead of just three people jumping on one person. I agree with that. But let's just keep it real. In the streets, there's no such thing as a fair fight. Okay. Everybody's not going to think like that. Okay. If I go to I mean, if I go to if I go to a biker club, if I go to a bar, and there's a whole bunch of redneck bikers, you know what I'm saying? And if I go out disrespecting one of them or whatever, not, I put my hands on one of them. You think they're gonna fight me? Or you think one of them gonna want to fight me one on one? No, they're gonna no, they're gonna beat the crap out of me. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, they didn't tell the whole story. They tried to make it seem that it was just three degenerate black people beating up on a white person, and they were trying to make it seem that it was a hate crime. When it never had nothing to do with black or white. It never had nothing to do with no hate. It wasn't no hatred towards white people, none of that type of stuff. It was just a random brawl. It was just two people getting into an altercation. What was they arguing about? I don't know. Okay, but we know we knew who threw the first hit. You know what I'm saying? And so here's the thing. I feel like what they're doing this stuff on purpose on both sides. Okay, they're trying to incite hatred and venomous behavior on both sides with the blacks and the whites. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to incite a race war, okay? And they're trying to get people riled up. They're trying to get people angry, vengeful, to the point where they're ready to kill each other. That's what they're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, had I would have known the whole story, I would have never spoke on something I didn't know about. I would have never spoke on something I didn't know about. I would have kept my mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? So No, and here's the thing about me. I'm not speaking up for black people. I'm not speaking up for white people. I'm speaking up for truth. I'm speaking up for facts. You know what I'm saying? And that right there was the facts. Okay. It was just a brawl between two individuals. It wasn't black people attacking white people. It was just a brawl. People had a whatever disagreement. But the news media, they wanted to make it seem that it was a racial hate crime. In all reality, that's not what it was. And then another thing is, how come if he threw the first hit, how come he didn't get arrested? You know what I'm saying? How come those three black kids or whatever, I don't know if they were young or old, I don't know, but how come they got arrested and thrown in jail and not that white person? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.